Good evening, YouTube. Good evening. It's your guy J Crew to you coming at you with another video here. I want to do a video that's in the world of sports. Be my second video, which I'm focusing on what's going on in the world of sports. It's on a particular athlete by the name of Arik Gilbert. Now, I'm not sure that's the proper enunciation of his name. I don't know if it's Eric or Arik, but it looks like Arik. Like it's Arik is his first name, and his last name is Gilbert. Arik Gilbert. And for those who don't know, this young man was one of the top players in the country, regardless of position, when he was graduating high school in 2020. He was a tight end, and he played at Marietta High School, which is a Cobb County school in suburban Atlanta metro area here in Georgia. And Arik Gilbert was a tight end at Marietta High School, and he basically was one of the top players in the country. He was, I believe, he won the Gatorade National Player of the Year. At least for the state of Georgia, it might have been for high school football overall when he was coming out of high school. So he was a very decorated high school athlete, obviously an All-American, and he's one of those guys that look like he can just sort of go from high school to the NFL, pretty much like an athletic freak. But of course, in football, you can't do that. So he's a guy that initially committed to LSU coming out of high school, and that's where he played last fall. And I think he had maybe like 30 plus grabs for a good amount of yardage, which is really good for a freshman. And because of some issues that are going on at LSU in terms of stuff that's maybe not in his control, and in totality, and maybe for a few other reasons personally, he's chosen to transfer away from that school, and he's officially announced that he's landed at the University of Georgia. And obviously, I follow University of Georgia football. I'm a Georgia football fan, so this is good news for the University of Georgia. But I wanted to comment on a few other things, surrounding his arrival here at UGA, or potential arrival at UGA. When Arik came out of high school last year, he didn't really seem to be into coming to UGA too much. And he was looking at other schools, and obviously he ended up going to LSU. And then when he decided to leave LSU, keep in mind LSU had some issues going on. Their coach has been going through a bit of a controversy in the off season. There's been like different rape allegations made by women who've been affiliated with the LSU football program, or who are just general fans who may have interacted with some players and some staff there. And I've also read that Arik may have been just homesick in general on a personal level. So he chose to transfer back to Georgia. And even, I think, before he officially committed to Georgia today, he had flirted with maybe going to Florida. So it just seemed like UJ is not really a school for him. And I want to speak on that a little bit, because I was still surprised. If anybody's followed the University of Georgia football program since Kirby Smart, the head coach, has been there for the past three to 5 years, they really haven't had a good passing attack. Their quarterback situation since Jake Fromm left has been kind of tenuous. They've kind of, threw different guys on the football field. And it seems like they maybe have settled with JT Daniels, who came on at the end of last year, who was another high school All-American who transferred into the program from the University of Southern California. So they may have settled with him. But even before JT Daniels was there, when Jake Fromm was there, it seemed like they just were comfortable with just having an okay passing attack. And I think that played into Arik's decision to not initially really entertain Georgia when he came out of high school, and even this spring at first. And I think, that's something that should be looked at if you're like a highly regarded prospect. Is the school I'm going to have a fit for me within their program? And that's the issue that's going to have to be addressed. So even though he's committed to UGA, I think some people have whispered them he may have some academic issues. So I don't know if he's going to be immediately eligible to play. And keep in mind, for the most part, up until the world events of this past year came into play, you couldn't really just instantly get granted eligibility when you came to another program. If you chose to transfer, you had to maybe sit out a year and show that you can hang in there academically, and prove that you can hang in there with the new coaching staff that you were transferring into. And so with the REIT, those are issues that are still kind of going to be interesting to follow over the next few months. Because I don't even know if this guy's going to be immediately eligible. And so although he's a highly regarded guy. Keep in mind, uh, even though we did not get a REIT at the University of Georgia last year, there was another young man that came to play. He was also pretty much like the number 2 tight in the country, Darnell Washington, out of Las Vegas. And so Darnell played last fall, but he wasn't fully ready. I mean, he was a physical monster like a Arik Gilbert is. I think Darnell like 6'7", 250, 260. But still, I think his conditioning was reported to be not there. And I think his maturity in general maybe was questionable. I think Arik Gilbert was maybe like 6'5", 250. So both these guys are genetic super freaks. But I think I'm interested to see what Arik can do from a pass catcher standpoint, because I believe he's more of a natural pass catcher. He's a little bit more fleet of foot. He's a little bit quicker in and out of his routes. And Darnell Washington looks like he's more of a pass blocking tight end, or whatever. So, I think while Darnell can prove to be a good catcher, I don't think he's as far ahead as Arik is. And so it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Arik Gilbert over the next few months to maybe a year. Hopefully he sticks out with UGA, but he just didn't seem like he wanted to come here. At first, I thought that was a little weird. It's almost like UGA seemed like it was almost like uh, a last resort for him in terms of a top school to come to. I was like, I really don't want to come here, but I feel like I don't have a choice. So I mean that's what it looks like now. And I could be completely wrong, but I want to see how this turns out, because I was excited, because I think he's more of a downfield threat for the University of Georgia Bulldogs. But again, it's going to heavily rely on whether the coaching staff utilizes him appropriately. Can they get the ball to him consistently? Because keep in mind, their top receiver, George Pickens, he blew out his ACL in the spring. And so George Pickens is not going to be playing probably for the majority of this year, if at all. And so they're going to, maybe that can open up the doors for Arik a little bit. But it's just in the past, especially in the past game, UGA just has not utilized its receivers to the max. It's maybe one receiver may have 1 or 2 good games, and then they'll maybe disappear for the most part for the rest of the year. And that's always been kind of weird to me, how that just doesn't fully get played out correctly. But again, I hope this young man can really help the football team this year if they can get him eligible. But that remains to be seen. So I just wanted to give you my quick little thoughts on the news day of one of the top players in the country last year transferring to the University of Georgia. Hopefully he can help the Bulldogs break out this year from a passing standpoint. It's your guy J. Crew to you. Like the video, and keep a lookout on some more videos I'm going to be making in the coming weeks. Thank you.